you ever feel like your achievements are just a fluke or just a case of right place, right time? Or do you sometimes feel like people assume that you're a whole lot smarter or more qualified or more talented than you actually are? If that is the case, you may well be experiencing what is called imposter syndrome. I'm Dunn. I'm a clinical and coaching psychologist and mindfulness meditation teacher, host of the very popular Crappy to Happy podcast, and author of 3 Crappy to Happy books. And even now, I still sometimes feel like it's a matter of time before people figure out that I really don't have any idea what I'm doing. So welcome to the club and welcome to this week's Happiness Hack, where I share proven and practical tips to help you live a happier, more fulfilling and more meaningful life. And this week, I am here to talk about imposter syndrome. Give me a like, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of when I post a new video every week. And for now, let's jump straight into talking about imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is this term used to describe the pervasive feeling that you are somehow undeserving of your success. It is not an actual clinical syndrome. It's not in the DSM or anything like that. Sometimes it's called imposter phenomenon, and it is surprisingly common. You may be surprised to know that as many as 70% of people, including the world's most successful and high-achieving people, have all admitted to sometimes feeling like a fraud, feeling like they're not really competent enough to do the things that they are expected to do, or that they are doing. At its worst, it really does feel like being a fraud. There can be this terror that you will eventually be found out. But for most people, it's more a sense of somehow being undeserved, like somehow you've just fluked your way into a job or a position or a promotion or maybe a university course or a degree, and that really you're out of place amongst your peers, that everybody else is intelligent and capable and worthy and deserving, and you're wondering if you really belong in these spaces. So it can be really unsettling, of course, and it can cause you to hold yourself back from putting yourself forward for opportunities, for positions and for promotions. It can hold you back from speaking up in a room because you feel like anything that you've got to say is not credible. It's you've got nothing to contribute. So it's not just a problem for you and your ability to fulfill your own potential. It's actually a problem for whoever you work for your own business, for your peers, for your colleagues, because they're all losing out as well because you're holding yourself back and not contributing. And if you do experience imposter syndrome, you will know that no amount of success actually makes it go away, because it's not that you don't look successful on the outside, it's that you don't internalize that success on the inside. No matter what you do or what you achieve, it doesn't really stick. You don't really own your external achievements as being a reflection of your level of competence, worthiness, intelligence, or capability. In fact, the more successful you become, the worse it can become, because the more successful you become, the more visible you become, then the more there is at risk, the greater the likelihood that somebody might actually find out that you are, not as smart as they think that you are. So what do you do about this if you recognize yourself as an imposter? The key thing is to recognize that everybody experiences self-doubt. Everybody has times in their life where they feel like, whoa, I've been promoted past my level of competence, or whoa, I don't really know if I have got the goods here to deliver. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know if I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. The thing is, the difference between imposters and non-imposters is that non-imposters recognize that this is normal and that this is human and that this is part of life, and they appreciate that everybody feels like this sometimes. The thing about imposters is that when they feel those feelings, they take that as a sign. They take those feelings of self-doubt as evidence that they're actually not good enough. They're sort of, in a way, believing their feelings, and feelings aren't facts. Everybody has certain feelings. What we do with those feelings, how we manage them and how we make meaning of them, can make all of the difference to how that plays out in your decisions, in your actions, in how you show up. The way that imposter syndrome can play out for people, it can manifest as either overworking, overachieving, perfectionism, which makes sense because perfectionism is really a strategy that we use to ward off self-doubt and criticism. So if you feel like you don't belong, then you're more likely to overwork to prove your competence. The problem with that, of course, is that then when you are successful, then you believe that the only reason you achieved that success was because you overworked and you were a perfectionist and you micromanaged everything and you lost sleep at night working so hard to make sure that this was done well. So it can become a really self-reinforcing cycle of overwork and lead you to burnout. The other way that it can play out is that you actually get paralyzed by fear, that you procrastinate, that you put things off, you feel stuck, and then there's this last minute frenzy to get things over the line at the last minute. And then when that happens, if you are successful, then you are convinced that it really was a fluke, that you just winged it, that your success was undeserved because it was such a rushed, last minute, half well done job. Instead of saying, wow, I got that over the line at the last minute and I still was able to make it work and it still was a good outcome, you actually believe that it was really just a fluke and next time you will not be so lucky. So if whether you are falling into that overworking or avoidance kind of strategy, I would just suggest that you become aware of that and that you try to break some of those patterns. One really, really important thing to do is simply to, for starters, recognize how common this is. As many as 70% of people, as I said, have experienced or have admit to having experienced imposter syndrome at some time. The thing is, when you feel like a fraud and when you feel like you're the only one, that you're the only one in the room who feels like you don't belong there, then rather than talking about that with other people, you're more likely to go to great lengths to keep that to yourself. You want to hide your insecurity because you don't want people to catch on that actually you shouldn't be there. So that's the worst thing that you can do because it increases your feeling of isolation and disconnection. You've got to start talking about how you feel and allow other people to share with you that they sometimes feel the same way. And you've got to actually believe them, because the thing about imposter syndrome too is that even when other people tell you that they feel like that, you're more likely to say, oh yeah, well, sure, maybe, but I don't think you really understand. Like, I really don't belong here. And you think that everybody else actually is smarter and more competent than you are. So you have to open up, you have to be willing to allow yourselves to see yourself as other people see you. And other people don't see you as perfect, but other people certainly do see you as capable and being willing and able to contribute and that you have something to offer. They see your achievements not just as like looking good on paper, which is what you probably say, but as actual evidence of your intelligence and your competence. And it's important that you start seeing yourself that way as well. And to recognize that everybody else who's got also achievements that look good on paper, that they sometimes feel on the inside insecure and they experience self-doubt as well. It's not just you. Second thing I would suggest that you do is to list all of your accomplishments and all of your achievements and allow yourself to absorb that. Allow yourself to actually own your success, because this is not a case of needing to demonstrate to the outside world your competence. They can already see your competence. It's about you actually owning that and internalizing that. So listing everything that you have done, everything that you have achieved, allowing yourself to recognize the effort that it took, the ability that you must have, to recognize that not everybody can do it just because you can do it. That's the other thing imposters say. They go, oh, if I can do it, anybody can. It's this constant dismissing and downplaying your achievements. So allow yourself to own your success and slowly start to build up a level of belief in your own ability, in your own worthiness. And ultimately, this really does come down to worthiness. It really comes down to your core feelings of inadequacy, of that whole not good enough story, which everybody has to some degree. And this really does take consistent effort and energy for you to start really building up your core sense of worthiness. You are worthy and deserving of the success that you work so hard for, and the more that you can own that and work on that core sense of self-acceptance, self-worth, self-belief, then the less likely you are to be plagued by these pervasive feelings of self-doubt, and the more likely you are to actually enjoy all of that hard-earned success that you so deserve, and the more likely you are to continue to move forward and to grow and to give yourself opportunities to fulfill your potential, which ultimately is what you are here to do. So thank you for tuning into today's happiness hack. I hope this has been helpful for you. Leave me a comment below. Make sure you give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of when I post a new video every single week. And of course, if you want to join my free 7-day happiness challenge, cassdunn.com/happy. I'll put the link down below. Come and hang out with me on Instagram, cassdunn_XO, and I will see you here same time next week.